29 counties, including Chicago's Cook County, Dallas County, Brooklyn's King County, all have adopted second look procedures and special review units that are targeted with looking into questionable convictions. One such unit is the internationally recognized Dallas-based Conviction Integrity Unit, known as the CIU. A Conviction Integrity Unit is a division of a prosecutorial office that works to prevent, identify, and to correct false convictions. Our next guest established and led the acclaimed CIU during his tenure as the first elected African American district attorney of Dallas County. Craig Watkins and his team reviewed more than 400 cases. 34 of those cases resulted in exonerations. The unprecedented success of Craig Watkins and his team has become the model of integrity in prosecutions throughout the nation. Take a look at Craig's story. Well, good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you for being here with me. I'm so honored to have you here. You were elected in 2006. You assumed office in 2007. You served, 8 years?
Yes, sir.
As a DA. And you went in with a mission, though. You didn't just go in just to take up a position. You went in with a mission. What was your mission?
You know, as an African American and specifically as a lawyer, practicing criminal defense law, and just generally as a person of color, my experience with law enforcement was not a positive one. And that's not to say that law enforcement's not good. It's just that that was my experience. And if you talk to people of color, you may have, they may come to the same conclusion that their experience with law enforcement was not as positive as it should have been. And so my mission initially was to go in, was to reform the criminal justice system, make law enforcement work for everyone, no matter what color you are, what economic status you are, where you're from, but make it work across the board. And so I saw the best way to do that was to be on the inside. As a defense attorney, you're constantly knocking on the door, wanting to make change. But as the person that heads the criminal justice system, you can make that change. You have the power to do that. So ergo, that's why I decided to run for district attorney. And I was fortunate enough to get inside and make those changes. Now, specifically when I got there, I didn't go in saying that I was going to start a conviction integrity unit. But because of certain things that happened, it came to light that that was something that we needed to do. And it somewhat evolved over time. My first day in office, there was an individual that was being freed for a crime that he didn't commit. I believe he served 8 years. And it was no media, nothing. And I think there was one reporter in the courtroom and maybe 2 other people. And I went down and apologized to that individual for what the system didn't do for him that it should have. And that made the news.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, I was being interviewed, but well, we've never had a DA admit that there was a mistake. And I said that, well, in order for us to have credibility with the citizens, because those individuals that make a determination of a person's guilt or innocence, they have to have confidence in the district attorney's office.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, then we won't be able to dispense justice and make sure that the individuals that actually commit crimes are punished for those crimes. And so I thought it was necessary for us to go right the wrong. In the state of Texas, we define in our Code of Criminal Procedure what the role of a DA is, a district attorney. And it specifically says that the role of the district attorney is not to convict. It says that. And then it goes on to say that the role is to seek justice. Wow. And so when you seek justice, not only are you seeking a conviction or to punish someone for something that they did, but you're also making sure that an individual it's not wrongfully punished. And if they are, then you have to make that right. And so that's what we did. There was a strategy that we put in place when we first started the Conviction Integrity Unit. And we strategically looked at DNA first. Reason for that is because it's science. Can't doubt it. It's there. If we had started looking at cases based upon another issue that we dealt with later on, eyewitness identification, and we were wrong on a case, then it would have killed the whole program. We couldn't be wrong. And so we started with DNA. And so we had all these DNA cases, but in the elements of those cases were not just DNA. Then we saw other issues that were similar in all those cases. One issue was eyewitness identification. The witness or the victim chose the wrong person. In those DNA cases, not only did the DNA show that they didn't commit the crime, but the victim or the witness picked the wrong person. So that correlated to, well, maybe we need to look at cases where eyewitness identification was an issue, and then go back and look at the procedure and how these lineups, photo lineups or live lineups were presented. And then we started looking up at those cases. And then we started exonerating individuals in that capacity. Wow. Then what we saw in those cases was that some of the defendants or the exonerees pled guilty. And then we had to start looking at false confessions.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, I mean, you attribute it to, you're looking at a life sentence. Well, they'll give me 20. And you're afraid because it's a Dallas County jury. I'm African American and it's all white. What are my chances? So I mitigate my chances and take the lesser than going before this jury, and I may get the rest of my life in prison. So then we started looking at those issues, and we looked back at all the other issues that may have correlated to a person that should not have been incarcerated or convicted. What I can hang my hat on is to say that, yes, positively, we have basically started people to question the criminal justice system and look at it from a realistic standpoint. It's not working. And then not just look at it from the standpoint of, oh, you committed this crime, we're going to punish you, bad, but look at it from the standpoint of how, as a society, are we going to benefit from someone who made a mistake. So I look at incarceration. You go to prisons, and I look at that, and I go to prisons. I have a lot of clients that are doing writs of habeas corpus and trying to get out. And so I go to prisons all the time. And I'm looking at this situation that we have. And prison could be a positive place.
How?
Tell you how.
Because I mean, no air conditioning, no heating, terrible water, no forms of. They're treated indignant. I mean, they're strip searched. They're put in administration segregation. I mean, how is it positive?
That's where the reform comes in, because they should be institutions. I don't think they should. I mean, my thought process is so far. It's probably going to throw you for a loop. And I think they should be called institutions of opportunity.
Wow.
Why? Because, the law says that if you commit a crime, then if it's first degree, second degree, third degree, whatever, felony, I can punish you up to 5 years in prison. And the court or the jury says you're going to go to this institution of opportunity for 5 years. And I have your full attention for 5 years. I'm going to treat you humanely, first of all. We're going to have an element of punishment.
Humanely or inhumanely?
No, humanely.
Oh, you said if we reform it.
If we're reforming. Okay. First of all, there are going to be levels. Okay, you committed a crime. I'm going to have an element of punishment there. All right. But then once we go through the punishment phase, then I have to go through humanizing you, rehabilitation, institution of opportunity. What are we going to do for these 5 years? Are we just going to house you and you're going to get by and try to see if you can get a cell phone in here and figure out, how you're going to get your hustle on when you get out? Or are we going to use this? Hey, we got this human being here. All right, man, you did this. Pam, we're going to spank you. Man, let's go educate you. All right, let's get you a skill. Let's make sure that when you leave this place, you have a driver's license and ID, you have somewhere to go. We're not saying that we're going to be welfare, but then you have an opportunity to be employed. And what am I saying as a law-abiding citizen? I'm spending my tax dollars with our government, and I'm looking at this. Craig, that makes sense. Reform makes sense. Why? when I'm looking at it, the folks that are committing these crimes, well, 75% of them didn't graduate from school. They don't have any skill, and they're in a drug-infested neighborhood. But then I pay taxes in Texas, in this country, and in Texas, well, if these people aren't educated, they're in these environments, and then I'm paying tax dollars, $8 a day. Wow, $8 a day for my kid to go to school, because our Constitution says you have to be educated. $8, Texas, $8. But yet this guy, I'm sitting in prison, and he's just sitting down there. I'm spending $36 a day for that.
That's right.
So where's my investment coming? So on the front end, reform. Okay, educational system. Let's switch that.
So if there's to be a pipeline to prison, we do something at the front end.
Yes, but then for those that do fall into the trap, hey, there's a way out. And then we're not going to label you as a convict for the rest of your life.
Wow, I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay,
so
thank
much,
you.
Rick.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for doing this.
He got my juices rolling. I mean, I hadn't been interviewed in a long time, so.
Historically, the convictions with the best chance of being overturned are those that get repeatedly reviewed on appeal, or those chosen by legal institutions such as the Innocent Project or the Center of Wrongful Convictions. These cases tend to be high-profile cases with defendants who receive severe sentences. Experts say that this increase in rates of exonerations can be explained in part by a growing trend of accountability in prosecutorial offices around this country. It's hard to pinpoint exactly how many convicted defendants may actually be innocent. Now, in an attempt to answer this question, Samuel R. Gross, a law professor at the University of Michigan, who is co-founder and senior editor of the National Registry of Exonerations, published a paper in 2014 that estimated 1.4% of people on death row are innocent, while only 1.8% of them have been exonerated. For a few who do get exonerated, it's unlikely that they will be able to put their lives back together and establish some sense of normalcy. There's a lot of work to be done. Individuals like you and I will step up to the plate and become active in the pursuit of prison reform, whether on a local level, state level, or federal level. Until the next time, I hope you enjoyed this show. Join us on our next Ricky Walter show, coming to you soon. Touching a life can change a destiny.